Hey, CF927. Back here with another Coach's Eye video. This is Dylan, one of our athletes that gave us the okay to throw down on his video too. So Dylan, this actually is a pretty good job. Dylan has come a long way just in a few weeks. First CrossFit class was 3 weeks ago when we opened 927, and it's just been impressive to watch where Dylan has come so far. Quick learner, but this is why things like this is good, because we can improve and hone skills and look at details. So here we go. I'm going to start with this one. We've got 3 clean and jerks here. I'm going to look at just the first one to try to speed through it here. But on the setup, looking pretty good. Has the shoulder slightly in front of the bar. I like that. I'm not sure if that's the straightest line in the world, so you might be a little too far in front of the bar. But still, I like that shoulder in front of the bar. This angle right here is good. And you'll see in a minute that it actually stays at about that angle. I'm going to try to see if I can play this through till we get to the pull, and then look right there. Pretty close, so I like that. Hips and shoulders rise at the same time. Let's go back a little bit. And one thing I noticed here, Dylan, that I wanted to point out to you is your feet seem to be a little bit what we would call valgus, and what that means is that you're basically just rolling onto the inside arch. And this may be an anatomical thing that we can't change, or it would take a long time to change. But one way we can kind of alleviate that is to engage that right there. So if you can engage your hiney on the squats, where we tell you to push your knees out, it's not going to be super aggressive here because your elbows and arms are in the way. But if you can basically just engage that rear end, that's going to roll the feet out a little bit more onto the outsides of the feet, and allow you to engage more hips and butt coming up into this clean. But your bottom pull looks good. You get the knees out of the way, you get to that vertical shin. So good bottom pull. When we get to the second pull right here, this is where we start to see a little bit of breakdown. So right here, start to see the elbows bend way early. So we want to jump shrug, open the hips all the way up, squeeze the butt cheeks, and shrug the shoulders up to your ears before we even come close to pulling those elbows in and bending them. So keep those arms straight as long as possible. Get a big jump shrug before we bend those elbows. So you'll see here, you never really open the hips all the way. So even when we get to like the top of the second pull here, let me see if I can find the right tool, you still got a closed hip angle right there. So we still have that angle. We want that to be straight. Now that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but we want you to jump shrug so that everything is going vertical upright without that hip angle. Now, watch this right here. This is what I was watching this. I wanted to point this out to you. His elbows come under pretty good, but we've talked about the bar being weightless after that pull. Watch the bar right here in this position. So look at the bar in his hands right there. It is toward the top of his fingers. It is not resting down in his thumb and palm. And that's because the bar has become weightless. So I like that. And then watch as it lands back into those fingers and onto the shoulder shelf. So that's a good landing position. I like that. He pulls high, bar becomes weightless, duck under. Now this weight is light enough for you, Dylan, that you were able to pull it with bent elbows, and then also to duck under it without a full squat. So that's fine. Working those mechanics, you're going to get there. Those are just a couple things that I've seen. So the elbows bend a little bit too early. You're strong enough to get a good pull so that the bar becomes weightless. We typically want that to happen with our hips and shrug, not with our biceps and shoulders. Bar comes back down, land on the shoulder shelf, stand it up. Very good. So as we move into the jerk here, Dylan's going to do a split jerk, and here's what I like to see here. Look at the feet. We get repositioning. Very good. So we will always want you to pull those feet back up under your hips after a clean. Remember, the takeoff position of the clean is under the hips. Landing position is under the shoulders at squat depth. When we get into that push jerk, you need to reposition those feet up under the hips so that everything's going vertical. We'll get here into the dip. Remember, with the push jerk, we're going to dip, drive, dip. In this case, we're going to dip, drive, split. But I want to show you here, again, his dip looks good. Comes up into the heel here, so watch out for that. Remember to drive through, or sorry, comes into the toes. We need to stay on those heels, drive through the heel. But here's one piece that I like, is that vertical torso. So again, we want everything going forward. Notice the elbows are vertical as well, as opposed to being straight out like we would see in a front squat. So watch that heel. Good vertical torso, good elbows. I like it. As we get the drive, you see the bar come up, comes up into those toes, and then we get a nice split. Now, again, Dylan, this weight is light enough that you can get kind of what I call a, this is not demeaning at all, but it's what I call a frolic split, where you don't have to be super aggressive with the split because you have to get under the weight so far. With your drive, you're able to drive the bar up enough that you really don't have to duck under it at all. You just lock it out. So that's a good split jerk, and working just those techniques and that sort of thing with light weight. Once you get heavy weight, what you're actually going to have to do is duck under the bar, which means you're not going to be able to jump this high off the ground. You're going to have to just be it's a quick split, aggressive, real fast. So for this weight and working the technique, looks good. Front knee might be a little bit in front of the toe. Probably want to turn this back foot in a little bit so that the toe comes in, heel comes out slightly, just give you a good base. Again, a lot of those things are going to come more into play when you get into heavier weight. For this weight, you've done pretty good. You blocked it out up top. Here's the other thing, last piece I want to mention on this one. You start to walk it in here, looking good, and then the bar starts to come down. So go ahead and bring those feet completely together with the bar locked out over top before we start to bring the bar down. So a completed rep on a split jerk is to have the bar locked out overhead and the feet back up under you at position. So your feet, this would actually be the end of the lift, and you've already started bringing the weight back down. So again, minor detail there, but that's what we're here for. So overall, good lift. Lets the bar back down, resets, and we get a couple more in. So yeah, there you go. That's Coach's Eye, Dylan. One of our CF 927 athletes has come a long way. Well done. Keep it up, brother. See you, man.